It's Saturday. I'm going to hit a swim, a lift, and a 3 hour and 45-minute ride. So I'm making this YouTube video right now because I get home, my brain literally will not work. So right now it's Saturday, it's 10:41. I just wanted to get on here and talk about like the reality of weight loss and how extremes aren't necessary to change your life. Because I'll put it like this. When people think of transformations, like fitness transformations, fat loss transformations, they think of going from like 50 pounds overweight to absolutely peeled 6% body fat. And that's great. That is a lot of people's reality and that is life-changing. But that does not mean that a smaller transformation in terms of quantity of like pounds lost is less valuable. And I will argue that losing 10 to 15 pounds is just as significant. And I've gone through this personally. Because if you are in that middle ground of like, you're not crazy out of shape, but you're not where you want to be, losing those 10 to 15 pounds will have the same effect on your life as someone who is 40 or 50 pounds overweight and loses that weight. And let me tell you why. This was my case for the longest time. I was never super overweight or like obese. Like I never had like man boobs and like just a huge stomach where my shirt would just hang out. Like that was never me. I'm tall, I'm 6'4", I've always played sports, so I've always been like quote unquote in shape and like look decent for society standards. And then I got into lifting, added size to my frame, and even when I did add like 25 pounds, some of it being a little fat obviously, even when I did add 25 pounds in like 6 months, I still looked in shape. Like if you saw me in public, you'd be like, okay, it's just like a kid he's a big kid. Like he's strong, but he's not anywhere close to out of shape. And this is dangerous for multiple reasons. Like considering that you want to take your physique to the next level. If you're happy with kind of just looking like solid, then that's your truth. I don't want to speak for you. But speaking for me personally, being in this middle ground was damaging because I wasn't at a place where change was like necessary, always in my head, like, oh my gosh, I have to lose this weight. My life sucks right now. This is holding me back from so many things. Like this is a necessary change. I was never in that spot, but I was never fully satisfied. And so when you're in this middle ground, you don't really have like crazy incentive either way. And you go in this cycle of like wanting to change, doing a little bit of work and then realizing, like I look fine. Like I cannot tell you how many times I would start a cut, be a couple weeks in, and I'd get like the water weight off, and then I'd kind of look in the mirror and say, this is fine, I'm good enough. And then what happens? I just start eating more because those are my normal habits, add the weight back on, look in the mirror and say, I actually don't like the way I look. And then the cycle would repeat itself. And this was my case for years. So the middle ground it's a sneaky obstacle. It's sneaky. I promise you it is. And you've likely experienced that too, where you kind of you fluctuate. You're happy with it, then you're not happy with it. You're happy with it, then you're not. Versus someone who's really overweight, they look in the mirror every single day with kind of a sense of disgust, right? And then if you're in the shape you want to be, you constantly look in the mirror and you're like, yeah, I like the way I look. Body dysmorphia is a whole other thing, but objectively speaking. So again, I didn't personally look in the mirror and just be disgusted with what I saw. I didn't look in the mirror and be like, what have I done? I'm a monster. But there were some negative like moments that would repeat themselves in my life because I didn't take full control of my body and those extra 10 to 15 pounds that just love to sit around my lower back and above my abs and just like in this midsection area. And some of these, low confidence anytime I would have my shirt off because I have broad shoulders, I have big arms. When I'm wearing a shirt, when I'm in a hoodie, like, you don't really know what is under that. And so you could look at me and be like, oh, this guy's just jacked all around. Because also, I don't carry fat in my arms. My arms and shoulders are lean. My face is pretty lean. So as long as I have a t-shirt on and I'm just like a little bit bulked up, like I can look solid. But as soon as I would take that t-shirt off, whether it's like in the gym locker room or, I don't know, in summer just walking around, immediately I'm kind of just thinking like, oh my gosh, my biggest insecurity is revealed. The fat ring around the middle of my body. And that was just not something I was able to come to terms with. I just wanted more. But then as soon as I put the shirt back on, go inside, whatever, go out my day, it went away. So it was a problem, it was just hidden, and I didn't fully realize it until years had accumulated where I'm like, okay, this is actually messing with me. I am not in full control. I'm not exactly where I want to be. And what else did this come with? Constantly like pinching, like kind of pinching around my midsection, like, all right, how much fat do I really have? Like almost gaslighting myself. Be like, no, you're fine. Like you're fine. You don't have that much fat on your body. Or I would take pump check videos and rotate my body so that it would make my waist look thinner, and I would do like ab poses and kind of pull the fat down so that it looked like I was leaner. And I was just playing games with myself, bro. Like I was literally avoiding the fact that I had an extra 10 to 15 pounds on my frame that I didn't want. And I don't know why I was so against accepting reality, because at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. I would have been far better off looking in the mirror and be like, you know, like I look solid, but in the back of my head, I just want more. I want to be a little bit better. Not in an unhealthy, obsessive way. I want to see what my potential is if I can just turn things up a notch. Let me commit to losing these 10 to 15 pounds. Imagine if I just did that. It would have been so much easier. I would have been way happier than if I just stopped trying to play these games in my head and make it seem like it wasn't a problem at all. You know? And once I actually took the jump to lose the fat and finally address something that had been weighing on me for years, like what was this, honestly 5 years, because 2020 I added the weight. I added a lot of weight. I went from 180 to like 215, some muscle, a good amount of fat. And then I was playing sports, kind of maintained it. My physique, I was young, so my physique was starting to come together, right? I was starting to see how I was looking. But the one thing that didn't change was just that midsection fat. And I always just brought it back to that first bulk I did in 2020. Like, oh yeah, that's just the fat that's lingering around. And I just kept it constant. And once I actually finally made the decision to just lose that fat, to see what was possible, I felt like an idiot for not realizing that I should have just done it sooner. After that, I no longer felt like I was missing a piece to the puzzle. I no longer felt like everything was in order except for those 10 to 15 pounds that I just for some reason could not control. I finally felt like, wow, I actually have complete control over my physique. There isn't a piece missing anymore. And this was like hard for me to come to terms with, because I'd spent so long just accepting it and deeming it a permanent, constant part of me, and that it was just genetic, and that it was just the weight from my bulk that was always going to be there. It was irreversible. Who told me that? Like, I don't know why I just reverted to that. Like, somebody would compliment my physique, be like, damn bro, you're swole, and I'd be haha, like yeah, and I wouldn't fully accept the compliment, because I'm like, they don't know like what's like under my shirt, essentially. Like they just see the frame. I have a big frame. They see that, they compliment me, and I'm like, in my head I'm like, yeah, I know I have a big frame, but I also have this fat around my midsection that you probably didn't see, that you probably wouldn't compliment me on. Those were the thoughts that were going in my head. And after I took initiative to change, I realized like that is no longer a nagging thought in my head. Somebody can compliment me, and I can fully take it in and be like, yeah, like I am jacked. Like I did it. I lost the weight. I am lean. Not in an egotistical way, but kind of just realizing like, wow, I put my foot down on this. So not only the visual things, but just like how I move through life. I could go out to eat and get what I want and not feel like I'm just digging myself deeper in this hole, and not feel like I'm adding fuel to the fire, essentially, because when that thought was in my head of, oh, you need to lose this weight, anytime I go out to eat, there'd be a small voice in the back of my head like, are you sure about that? Like, is that adding to your like quote unquote problem? It wasn't a problem, but it was an insecurity. And so that was constantly in my head. And all that just could have been avoided if I just looked at myself in the mirror face to face and said, you want to change something. You clearly do. Listen to your intuition. Like, stop trying to sugarcoat and mask this. If you want to change something, change it. Do it. And then in terms of athletics, like I was always an athlete, but I didn't realize how much better of an athlete I could have been if I lost the weight. Like, dunking a basketball used to be a problem for me when I was like 225. Like, I could barely get my hand over the rim. I lose the weight even in peak Ironman training, where I'm not primed for explosive movements. I lose the weight and I can just like, I promise you right now, take me on the court, I'm dunking right now. Like it's no question, because I'm confident in my athletic capability. And those 10 to 15 pounds were holding me back. They were giving me knee pain. I lost the weight, no more knee pain. I can run now. I can go on 12-mile runs and then go run the next day. I can go play basketball. I can go play football, lots of impact. These were all things that I struggled with beforehand. And I never realized, like, dude, maybe it's the fact that you were living life with a 15-pound weighted vest on you. That's why your knees hurt. That's why some days you just can't get up and dunk a basketball. That's why some days you run a couple routes at the Thanksgiving turkey scrimmage and like everything just hurts, you know? Don't even get me started with triathlon. Like, bro, if I stayed in that shape back then with plus 10, plus 15 pounds, I would have been able to do it, but I wouldn't have been able to do it as well. I would have been heavier swimming. I would have just felt kind of like a big rock on my bike. I would obviously be weighed down when I was running. So again, not impossible, but my experience with everything physically has been 10 times elevated since losing that weight. And even 10 to 15 pounds is a stretch. Bro, I could lose 5 pounds and see a difference. Like when I cut down 7 pounds back in, December, huge difference. All of my times in triathlon improved. So I'm not an advocate for just drilling yourself down with weight loss and getting as lean as possible, but I am an advocate for jumping and taking action when that little voice in your head keeps reappearing, because there is some truth to that. And I think it's very easy to overcomplicate things and overthink things. Oh, should I cut? Should I not cut? Should I bulk? Should I do this? What is your intuition telling you? What is your heart telling you? Are you satisfied? Because if you are satisfied, you won't have to question things. So whether it's 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 10 pounds, 5 pounds, if you have that voice in your head that's telling you this is weighing on me a little bit, act on it. Like, please act on it, because you will be able to filter out the body dysmorphia thoughts and the something is actually bugging me thoughts. And if it's the latter, if it's this is something I think about daily, like, oh, everything is great, but I just don't feel completely in control, that is your sign to just get the work done. Put your head down for 3 to 6 months, maybe 12 months if you got more to lose. Keep that end goal in mind of what you are trying to achieve holistically with your life. Not just seeing your abs, but how you move around when you're playing sports, how you operate when you're at social events and want to look good while eating the foods that you want. Like, all of these things. Accumulate those thoughts into one vision of what your life will look like, and then move from there, because you know you are going to take action eventually. And so kicking the can, what does it do? It wastes time. Why would you want to live more life not in the way that you want to live it? So those are my closing thoughts. I feel like there are so many people out there who are in this middle ground where they're not devastated, but they're not satisfied. And if you are at that point, listen to what your gut is telling you and jump on it. Appreciate you watching. I will catch you in the next video.